In case you guys don't know, I'm Dusty Ferentz. I'm the Executive Director of the Kings County Farm Bureau, and we're here to talk about water today. If you saw our early ads for today, it was originally intended to be a panel discussion. That has fallen apart. So I'll talk to you guys about SGMA. It's a small enough crowd we can be a little informal and ask questions throughout the presentation, as long as that doesn't take over all of our time and get too far off track. We've got a lot of things that we want to share with you guys today about SGMA in the Tulare Lake Subbasin. So we'll get started. Every PowerPoint presentation is entitled to have one slide with too much text that's unreadable but is required. We got it out of the way early. You guys can take a picture of this if you want. This is the background information, the laws that were passed in 2014 to create the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. And in case anybody doesn't know, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or SGMA, was passed with the intention of achieving groundwater sustainability in California's subbasins. That's the high-level view. I think you guys all know more about that than we need to discuss anymore right now, but ask questions if you got them. So I mentioned we're in the Tulare Lake Subbasin. That subbasin covers the majority of Kings County, and that's a hotbed of activity. If you're following us on social media or read our e-newsletter, you guys are aware of what's going on. But in case you don't, the 5 GSAs that make up the Tulare Lake Subbasin are the Mid-Kings River up to the north and in orange on the map, South Fort Kings in yellow, and then to the south we've got Southwest Kings, El Rico, and Tri-County Water Authority. So when we talk about the Tulare Lake Subbasin, that's the region that we're discussing today. In addition, in Kings County, we've got the West Side Subbasin, the Greater Cahuilla GSA, and the Cahuilla Subbasin, excuse me. And then we've got the North Fort Kings north of the river. So a little background on the GSAs themselves. GSAs are groundwater sustainability agencies. They're local agencies that partnered to create a new governmental agency to manage Sustainable Groundwater Management Act in the region. Mid-Kings River made some changes yesterday that we'll get into. Their current GSA members are the City of Hanford and the County of Kings. When that GSA was originally created, the Kings County Water District was also a member of that agency. More on that in a bit. The South Fort Kings, which incorporates Lemoore and that area, the GSA members there are the City of Lemoore, County of Kings, Empire West Side Irrigation District, Stratford Public Utilities District, and the Stratford Irrigation District. Their board of directors is listed there for your information, and this GSA has also recently created a grower advisory committee, which a lot of our GSAs don't have yet. They've met a couple of times, and they're working on some policy for that GSA, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail also. I failed to mention earlier that this presentation will be available on Farm Bureau's website after today. So if you need to access any of this information, visit kcfb.org and you'll be able to look at all of these slides. And we've also got a video recording of the presentation that'll be available on our YouTube channel and probably our website as well. The El Rico GSA, moving south, it's a large geographic region made up of the Alpaugh Irrigation District, City of Corcoran, Corcoran Irrigation District, County of Kings, Lovelace Reclamation District number 739, Melga Water District, Salyer Water District, the Tulare Lake Basin Water Storage District, and the Tulare Lake Drainage District. And our board members and general manager are listed there. Also in the south, we've got the Southwest Kings GSA, Dudley Ridge Water District, Tulare Lake Reclamation District, Kettleman City Community Services District, Tulare Lake Water Storage District in the County of Kings. And the final one, the Tri-County Water Authority, made up of the Angiola Water District and the Deer Creek Stormwater District. That was a lot of information. Any questions on the GSAs and how they were formed or what their geographic regions are? You guys are a well-educated crowd today. The subbasin uses one engineering consultant, and that's Geosyntec. The engineer for the entire subbasin is a man named Amir Hussein. The engineer is really responsible for helping the GSAs put together a groundwater sustainability plan and contributing to policies that manage each of the GSAs. So a little bit about groundwater sustainability plans and what they are. This is the description from DWR's website, that SGMA requires local GSAs in the state's high and medium priority basins to develop and implement groundwater sustainability plans or alternatives to those plans. These GSPs or alternatives provide a roadmap for how groundwater basins will reach long-term sustainability. That's kind of the overall goal of SGMA in a nutshell, according to the state legislature. By now, you guys all know that the Tulare Lake Subbasin was placed on probation by the State Water Resources Control Board. We got here because the subbasin submitted 2 groundwater sustainability plans originally to DWR, the Department of Water Resources, and both of those plans were deemed incomplete and insufficient by DWR. The first one incomplete, the second one insufficient. So that triggered the next step in the process, which was the State Water Resources Control Board reviewing the subbasin's plan, considering it, and considering the subbasin for probation. That probationary hearing took place on April 16th of this year, and the state board, in a 9-hour-long meeting, maybe 9.5 hours, voted to place the subbasin on probation. What that means for all of you as water users in the subbasin is that you will be required by the State Water Board to register your wells and pay fees of $300 per well per year, and you will be required to report your pumping to the State Water Board and pay fees of $20 per acre foot extracted to the State Water Board. The state has started to send out notices to landowners, electronically at least for now, with the announcement that you should receive a letter from the State Water Board with a unique identifier to register for the GEARS program. That's the Groundwater Extraction Annual Reporting System. That's how the State Water Board will track your water usage and where you will report. It's important that if you guys see a notice from the State Water Board, don't discard it. Each of you as a water user have a unique ID in there that you need to register. And at this time, there is no clear path for the subbasin to get off of probation. We're told we've got to submit an acceptable groundwater sustainability plan to the State Water Resources Control Board and the Department of Water Resources. The state agencies get to be very vague about what a plan will contain that will get the subbasin off of probation. So that's a big question mark as we're working through this today. So there's been some activity following the April 16th probationary hearing. The El Rico GSA pretty quickly after that hearing announced publicly that they will submit their own groundwater sustainability plan to the State Water Board. Since then, the Southwest King and Tri-County Water Authorities have made the same announcement and have drafted their own plans to submit. The South Fork Kings and the Mid-Kings River have not decided what they're going to do yet, although there is some thought that they may create one plan for both agencies and submit that. What's important to remember in this process, though, is submitting an individual GSP doesn't solve any of these problems for us. Under the law, the agencies in the subbasin are required to submit a coordination agreement. And a coordination agreement is an agreement between the agencies that says the neighbor, my plan works for me, but my neighbor's plan doesn't affect me. And if you listened to the State Water Resources Control Board hearing it all, it was mentioned, we're 90% of the way there. It's the last 10% has been the holdup. The last 10% that our agencies haven't agreed to yet are the components that are required in a coordination agreement. So it's GSA submitting their own plans as movement, but there's a lot of work to do to get that coordination agreement agreed to and approved by State Water Resources Control Board. Activities following the hearing, again, I mentioned earlier that the South Fort Kings has formed a grower advisory committee. They've met twice, and they have started to consider policies for the South Fort Kings. The policies that they considered at their last meeting earlier this month were a well registration policy and a well mitigation policy. And really that should say a domestic well mitigation policy. The committee met and took some comments from the public and needs to meet again to consider the public comments on these policies, and then they may or may not choose to recommend policy adoption to the South Fort Kings Board of Directors. We don't know what that looks like. That's a brand new plan that they're working through. I got to listen to and review the policies. They're different than anything that's been seen in the Tulare Lake Subbasin so far. I don't know if that's good or bad, but they're at least different. Yeah, we've got a question in the crowd. Maybe step up to the mic so we can get it on recording.
Testing.
There we go.
Okay. So my question is, with these plans, has it been addressed for entities that want to sell water out of the Central Valley for profit? Has that been in discussion with any of these plans, and a way that we can keep our water within the Central Valley instead of it being sold to entities other than the people that deserve to have it?
There's not been anything specific about groundwater sales in these policies yet. I think the rationale there is that to achieve sustainability in a subbasin, you're going to be limited to what can be extracted, and that, in theory at least, should limit the opportunity for sales.
There is a policy in place that makes it illegal to sell groundwater outside of Kings County.
Yeah, the County of Kings has adopted a groundwater export ordinance. They can speak to that better than I can, but they have adopted a policy in the last 6 or 8 months. Year and a half.
Yeah, we created a policy December 27th, 2022. Any water that is extracted out of the ground cannot leave the County of Kings. There are some exceptions for people that farm near the border of Kings County. You can move it 10 miles from point of extraction. 10 miles is a long way to move groundwater, but it is an option if you farm both sides of the county line. There's only a couple areas that we worry about that, and that's mainly about the Southwest Kings GSA, but there's not but 6 wells out there. But the problem starts here. So it is illegal, and we're working on a monitoring aspect of it and an enforcement part of it. It wasn't necessary last year because we shouldn't have been pumping water because we had plenty of water.
So the Mid-Kings River GSA, this has been an exciting topic of conversation, especially this week. But for background, they have not met yet following the April 16th probationary hearing at the State Water Resources Control Board. Unfortunately, at least in the opinion of the Kings County Farm Bureau, yesterday the Kings County Water District held a special board meeting at noon and voted to remove themselves from the Mid-Kings River GSA entirely. What that means now is that the JPA that governs that agency has to be amended, adopted, readopted, considered by the County of Kings and the City of Hanford. And they've got to consider whether or not they want to keep that GSA functioning the way they have. To form a GSA under SGMA, you've got to be sorry, I lost the term. You've got to be an agency with land use or water authority, and you've got to be an elected body. So the county and the city are the agencies in that geographic region that qualify to form a GSA. It takes 60 days for the removal to go into effect. So in the next 60 days, the GSA could, in theory, function. But after that 60 days, they do not have enough board members seated to have a quorum. They actually only have one board member at the time. So efforts are underway to figure out how we manage that GSA moving forward after that vote yesterday. That's a lot of work. That decision puts not only the Mid-Kings River GSA, but the entire subbasin at a higher degree of risk in the eyes of the State Water Board, because we've got potentially an undistricted portion of the subbasin and an unmanaged portion of the subbasin. The State Water Board has some authority to come in and take management actions immediately rather than waiting to the end of, or waiting through the probationary process. So hopefully, not hopefully, we need to get this situation rectified as soon as possible. So that's been the background, how we got here today, I think. We'd be remiss if we didn't take a few minutes and talk about what Kings County Farm Bureau has been doing to better your day through SGMA, help you guys work through SGMA, and advocate for you guys. Our first action was to legally challenge the State Water Board's decision to place us on probation. On May 15th, we filed a writ of complaint in Kings County Superior Court. That writ, has 8 causes of actions identified that the Farm Bureau Board of Directors and our attorney found ways that the State Water Board violated law by placing us on probation. That's not a quick process, unfortunately. That's not a cheap process by any means, but we are working on some next steps. And it's important for you guys to know that we're out here working for you guys. We're out here fighting for you guys. Our hope is that at some point in the next 90 days, we get to tell you all that there's been an injunction approved by the court that might stop some of this stuff, at least temporarily, until we can have our case heard in court. But fingers crossed we get that done. So far, I think it's worth sharing with you all. To get that writ of complaint filed in Superior Court cost Kings County Farm Bureau $30,000. So far, Farm Bureau's covered that cost. We will be asking you guys to contribute financially to this legal battle a little bit later on today. But no, this isn't easy. This isn't cheap, and Farm Bureau's here doing it for you guys. Following the State Water Board decision, and actually a little bit before that, in the Mid-Kings River GSA, there was a huge number of complaints because the GSA didn't form a grower advisory committee. When asked why, the answer typically was the GSA was understaffed and underfunded, didn't have the bandwidth to do it. Farm Bureau volunteered to staff that for them, create the committee, get people meeting, and we volunteered to do that free of charge to the GSA, and never got a response from them except for one board member that wanted to know more about it. Additionally, in the Mid-Kings River GSA, once that GSA put out their fee study in an attempt to pass a Prop 218 election, Farm Bureau reviewed that fee study and what those dollars would go to, could not abide by what was in that study, and ran a campaign to block that 218. If you guys live in or around the Mid-Kings River GSA, you probably saw a letter from us. We sent out over 1,400 letters in an attempt to reach every landowner in the GSA. Social media, electronic newsletter, our written newspaper, media call, traditional media calls. And fortunately for growers, we were able to block both the assessment, the per acre assessment, and the pumping fees that the Mid-Kings River proposed right after the State Water Board hearing. And we did run a very similar campaign to try and remove the directors of the Kings County Water District from their seats, and also to keep the Kings County Water District as a member of the JPA that formed the Mid-Kings River GSA. Unfortunately, yesterday, that board voted to keep themselves in place and not in favor of Farm Bureau's position, but we'll keep fighting. Now we get to the exciting stuff, right? This is important. This is all for you guys. We recognize that in Kings County, we don't have a community without agriculture. We don't have a tax base. We don't have employers. We don't have citizens without agriculture thriving in the county. Agriculture in Kings County is directly responsible for 1 in 4 jobs in the county. And that doesn't include the trickle down, the grocery stores, the coffee shops. Kings County agriculture has to thrive. But really, this is bigger than the Tulare Lake Subbasin. If we're successful challenging the State Water Board's decision to place the subbasin on probation, that affects the 6 subbasins that follow us that have probationary hearings scheduled in the next 2 years. This is a statewide issue. This takes all of you. This takes everybody in the state to win, and we can win this. But Kings County Farm Bureau can't do it alone. I think I combined my slides there. As we talk about fundraising for this effort, our Executive Committee and Finance Committee met earlier this week to solidify a decision. Any dollars contributed to this effort to battle SGMA for the Tulare Lake Subbasin will be completely held separately than all of Kings County Farm Bureau's general fund dollars. Farm Bureau doesn't benefit financially from this effort. We will ask for our original contributions back to make us whole financially, if we can do that. But otherwise, separate bank accounts, separate accounting. And in the event that we over fundraise for some reason, the board will work and figure out how to contribute those fundraised dollars in GSAs to improve the situation for growers. It might be to help with a well mitigation program. It might be to help fund staff in a GSA that needs it. The possibilities are endless, but it's important for you guys to know Farm Bureau is not going to benefit financially from your contributions. It's all for you. It's your money. It's your farm at risk, and we're going to do everything we can to fight that and keep that money on your farm where it belongs. So here's what we're asking for. Our board, our finance committee, our water committee put a lot of thought and effort into what we think it's going to take to fund this effort. And a per acre request we thought made the most sense for growers. We're asking landowners in the Tulare Lake Subbasin to contribute $8 per acre annually. We expect this is going to be a several year long process, but if we raise enough money in year 1 or year 1 and 2 and we don't have to fundraise in year 3, we won't do it. $8 an acre we think is what we need from landowners in the subbasin. We are going to ask the groundwater sustainability agencies themselves to contribute at least for the probationary decision, right? So we think $4 an acre from the agencies is what we're looking for. And because we're getting so much recognition for the effort outside of the subbasin, and people realize the impacts of what that decision might have in the Tule subbasin, the Kauai subbasin, the Kern, people are asking to contribute. So we're asking for $4 an acre from those outside of the area growers as well. And then any of you that are doing business, we've got some supporters in the back that aren't farming directly, but in the agriculture industry supporting. We're asking for 1 of 3 levels of contributions annually to fight this fight. We don't know exactly what this is going to cost. Early estimates in the first year, we suspect it'll take $400,000 to battle the State Water Resources Control Board. And then there are efforts that may need to happen locally that may require funding. We don't know what those all are just yet. Yesterday's decision by the Kings County Water District are going to shape those conversations with our board and our committees moving forward. But this is no small feat. This is a big ask of Farm Bureau and a big ask of growers in a time where growers don't have it, but we got to find it so that you guys can get it and survive next year. So small, quiet crowd. We got through that presentation pretty quick. Let's talk. Now let's have fun, right? You guys know where Farm Bureau is a little bit. Hit us with questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. The mic is hot. We want to hear from you guys.
So So with the decision yesterday, is Kings County going to be the backstop for Mid-Kings then at that point? Or have you guys decided on that yet? Or has Kings County decided if they're going to be the backstop?
Doug, we should have just set you up here.
So I'm only one of 5. So we've been gathering information for some time, every day, at least 2 hours a day, gathering information. We know what our rights are. We know what our role is, but I need 2 more votes on the board. So we'll discuss this in closed session on Tuesday, see where the board goes. We're not unanimous right now. We got some that believe that let the state come in and take it over. We don't want that. I don't want that. The state can come in here and shut us all down to half-acre foot and till the problem's solved, and we're all gonna go bankrupt in the process. So the county has a role to play, but I need 2 more votes. We'll try to get that done, hopefully Tuesday afternoon, and get a direction. We have 59 days right now to come up with something, and if we do come up with something, I have talked to the State Water Resource Control Board. If we are able to help, we'll get an extension so we can come up with a good plan. So that's our goal today, at least my goal, but I still need 2 more votes. But we're here to help.
So they will give us an extension.
Pardon me?
They will give us an extension on that.
From what I understand, if we do the right thing by representing the majority of the people, not the majority of the land. But we have about, I don't know, Mid-Kings has got like 3,500 landowners that need to be represented. You can't have 3,500 attorneys. Most attorneys are tied up with the people that are abusing our water system. So we need to be there to protect the small growers. So we have from April 16th to April 16th, you have a year to come up with a plan. You don't come up with a plan, the state will come in here and just take over. They would like to see us come in and handle it, but I don't know what that's gonna look like with the 1 GSA or 5 GSAs. But someone needs to be in charge for all 5 because we can't come together. We've proven that over the last 5 years. So someone needs to take charge. No, your July 1st date is, or July 16th is a date where you have to have your all your wells registered, and you need to start tracking how much water you use. Every month, you turn it in December, but it's only 4 months, I believe you're gonna have tracking, or 5 months. That doesn't change. So you should have got something in the email by, I got mine Friday evening, and you have to register your wells. It's $300 per well, I think $20 an acre foot of extraction fee is what you have to pay, and you gotta keep track. Anybody that pumps over 500 acre feet in their 1 well, which I don't see that happening from August till December, because your water year generally ends about October. You will be forced to have a meter at that time. But I would recommend everybody get a meter if you could. I was hoping there'd be a meter, someone here today. I ordered mine in February and haven't got them yet. So I think it's important to have a meter to prove that you're not the problem and you're doing the right thing. And if you have surface water, document what you use in surface water so you prove you're not pumping groundwater. And that'll help us all out. Because the problem is the groundwater. So I know for myself, I'm good. I got lots of surface water the last 2 years. So we gotta capitalize on that too. And then we'll allow the people that don't have surface water to still be able to farm, because the farm revenue supports our government. And once that goes away, we'll be a disadvantaged community. We'll be begging for handouts all the time. Yeah, I know that answer. I think you're gonna get penalized.
25% a month.
Yeah, it's serious. And so it's kind of the same format as your nitrogen management plan. You'll go on a website and you'll register it. So they have a vehicle now to document everything right now. But yeah, you got to get them all registered. I know the Mid-Kings had every single well registered. You don't have to register your domestic wells, only your farm use wells for growing a crop. I would assume if you went long enough. I know if you don't pay your property taxes, you got 5 years before anything happens. So probably the same format. It was a State Water Resource Control Board. I had signed up for information early on, so I get information. So I got one Friday evening telling me I had to go to this website and register my wells. I'm sure once the Farm Bureau gets it, they'll share it with their growers. But you're responsible as a landowner to register your own well.
And in addition to that, the state board should be sending something in the mail, but we haven't seen those yet, and we don't know when they're coming out, probably June or July.
I heard everything went out last week, so you should
Okay.
be getting them today or an email. I don't check my mail because it's just bills, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'm kind of confused on what Kings County Water District was put in place back in the 70s for protection of our surface water that was all going to the lake bottom. And it's controlled by a board. That board still is intact. I know we have some people that probably need to be replaced on that board to get that done. But it's, you know, it protects a region of the county. And even though it's called Kings County Water District, the Kings County has no control over it. I'm a member of it because I'm a shareholder in the water rights.
I'm saying more just generally, not as the.
Right. I think what would happen is there is going to be an election, I think, on 2 positions this year. And hopefully we'll get some interest, people that want to run for that board seat or 2 board seats. But I can't imagine that it's fun for anybody on that board right now. So I don't even know why you want to do that to yourself. It's not tied together. They are working on a vehicle to transfer that information, but it doesn't exist yet. No, they're not responsible because it's going to be all 5 GSAs now. So every landowner is going to be responsible for their own actions. Even El Rico, Southwest, Tri-Counties. So you're going to be, as a landowner, you'll be responsible to register your own well.
And it's through this year's?
It's to the State Water Resource Control Board. So we'll try to get that information out. If we have it, we'll get it on our newsletter for the county, but you have till July 16th. I haven't done mine yet because I just saw the email this morning. I'm about 4 days late. So I really don't want to register my wells. I'd like to see my neighbor's wells registered though. I'm not the problem, everybody else is the problem. Out of all the counties in the state of California, Madera County is the best one right now. Madera County started about 14 years ago with a Water and Natural Resources Committee, a department in their own county. And they had a board member on every GSA they had, and they had a hard time with it, but they brought it together. There was 5 GSAs, I believe, or 4 GSAs. Each one had their own opinion. They have separate GSPs for each GSA, but they have a coordinating agreement that connects them all together. So they're the first county in the state of California that's been accepted. It's almost complete. Fresno County is North Kings. They started with a different plan. They had involvement from the County Board of Supervisors as well. And so they're closer than we are. I mean, we're as far as you can get from being united. Yeah, I just think that all 5 of our GSAs sat on it too long. I'm an alternate on South Fort Kings, and I got frustrated 4 years ago because nobody was doing anything. And still today, no one is doing anything. And I'm talking about a plan. You just got to put a plan in place. Whether it works or not doesn't matter. At least have a plan in place. The domestic well replacement program, there's all kinds of things you can do. But if you have a plan in place that takes care of it, that's great. Collecting money doesn't always solve the problem. There's things that we've been doing at the county for years trying to get those wells under control. But you just gotta have a plan in place. You gotta be able to adjust it. But it's a tough situation to be in. I mean, if you're a board member getting up there, you can't go to the grocery store because they're pissed. They want to talk about it. How dare you, charge me? But it's not us charging you. It's the state. I mean, Roger Dickinson, he was not our friend. And he came up with this rule back in 2013 and got it passed in 2014. So we all have to comply, just like the EPA and the Air Board. We don't like the San Joaquin Valley Resource, the Air Board, but they're only there to protect us from the EPA. So that's what we're gonna have to do with our GSAs. They're gonna protect us from the State Water Resource Control Board to come up with a plan amongst ourselves that fits the area we live in. And we're gonna have to pay for that. It's gonna cost us money. No, there's no grower advisory board yet. We only have one grower advisory board on the South Fort Kings. It's only been formed for about 6 weeks. So had they formed it 6 years ago, we might be a little further right now. But nobody wants anybody else to talk about their water. You don't want me talking about your water, and I don't want you talking about my water. And that's what's happening here. A lot of personalities involved. I don't mind putting a meter on my neighbor's well, but I don't want one. I'm not the problem. So we got to get over that mentality. Well, you think about the geosyntech, Amir Hassan, he's received a lot of money from all 5 GSAs to come up with a plan, an engineering plan that works for our community. That takes a lot of money, and they have the talent to get that done. But unless we enact it, we're going to be fighting for the rest of our lives, and we'll just destroy ourselves. And about 6 years ago, I was in a meeting with a large grower, and he said, yeah, we're not going to do anything, and you guys are all going to fight, and we're going to take you over. And that's what's happening today. Land values are dropping, commodity prices dropping, and a larger grower is putting their heels in, and they're not going to stop pumping. So we got to stay together because we're really not the target, but we have to have a plan in place to get this done, and we don't have a plan yet. So I think it's important that the South Fort Kings, Mid Kings work together, and get a coordinating agreement with the other 3 GSAs in the southern part of the state. But again, I'm only one of 5.
My name is Barbara Martin. I'm from the Island District, not from this GSA. I'm with John, we're in the North Fork, and the pedal's to the metal now. And I totally agree with Doug about uniting, and that's why I've been trying to make the rounds to the other GSAs to stick together, because I think it's very well proven that divided we fall. Also, I want to, before I start, commend the boards of directors on the GSAs and for Dusty personally, and for bringing forth, no one wants to spend more money, but I'd rather spend more money fighting than complying. And at what point do we stop complying? It doesn't seem very long ago for me that when, as a dairy farmer, everything was implemented. Just follow along. Just do what they say. Just comply. Things will get better. I think we see where the dairy industry in Kings County has gone. It's pretty clear. Pork industry in California, egg industry in California. And who gets chipped away? The little guy. There's more of us little guys than there is the big guys. And we need to take a breath. We are taking direction from the state, which did a fire sale in our county to put a high-speed rail that isn't even running. Doesn't that bring back memories? Do we forget? Do we wish it goes away? I do. And now we're taking directions for more paperwork, more fees, more fines. What happened to all of the paperwork and their findings from the water board, the air board? What do they do with all of this information that they compile? Where is that information? When the first thing we should be asking is why they're dumping 70% of our water into the ocean. That's one. I mean, we don't have to give all 70, but I mean, let's go to half. Maybe dump only 40%. Let's see how that works. But no, all of the regulation goes to us, the individual farmer. Put a monitor, what are they going to do with that day? What are they going to do if they do? What happens if they don't? Are they going to show up? Okay, they fine us. They do. I think as GSAs, I would be totally for, let's support this probationary period and as all GSAs, and let's figure it out and use this not as an example or as a guinea pig, but as a learning tool. Before all of us, every single one of us complying. I mean, aren't we done? I mean, look at how they handled COVID. Businesses shut down for 2 years. This state is telling us what to do. They work for us. They work for us. At this point, we just need to take a breath, stop, pull together, and not comply. Because one by one, the agenda to me is pretty clear. And I say it, and I say it, and I say it. And they control the water, they control the farms, they control the food, and then they control the people. And if we don't see that by this point, then I fear it is too late. So please, let's band together, let's talk, communicate. We have a good representative with Doug. We have Kings County Farm Bureau. It's going to be cheaper to defend ourselves than to eventually comply to everything that they want us to do, because it will never, ever end. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Jason?
So what's the total revenue you're expecting to collect with all the acres and everything? What are you guys estimating you'll be able to collect total wise?
That's a great question. Who's got $8 an acre to spare right now? We think in the short term, we need $400,000 just to battle the State Water Resources Control Board. So that's our first target. That's
So-
our first goal.
So depending on your revenue, what you think you're gonna get or estimating. So in the Kern Basin, because I farm in Kern County as well, and I farm in Kings as well. We're a family-ran operation, but we farm in different counties, obviously. But so in the Kern Basin, we're doing a basin study based on pumping, where it looks as a whole on where the problems are. And so that's going to be part of our plan, and we started that I think 2 years ago. So if you guys, it might be something you guys, and you might have to talk to Valerie about. She understands it as well. So to talk to her what that entails and what it's going to cost and everything else. Because I think we got either a $5 million grant or something like that just to do the basin study.
Yeah.
So so just that will probably be a plan that will probably entail a lot and tell a lot of people what their plans are going to be.
The sub-basin is working on a basin study right now. I don't know what the status of that is, other than it's not completed yet.
Right.
Hopefully that's got good information in it that's usable and trusted.
Who's paying for that?
The GSAs, they were grant funded.
They were grant. Okay,
Yeah.
you guys got that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you guys already started that basin study or not yet. So.
Yeah, it's been started, and
Okay.
we have GSPs that are written. It's the coordination agreement that is holding things up
I
right
think
now.
that holds everybody up, but that's going to tell a lot once that basin study's done. And I know the state is looking at the Kern Basin because and waiting for our basin study, because I think that's why our hearing isn't until January of next year. So, but I think they were trying to see if our basin study would get done just to see how that looks with our plans.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the faster that they can get that going is going to be a lot, and it'll give everybody a better sense of where their land's going to be or how much they're going to be able to pump. And then the other question I have is, and it's that, but basically a comment is, everybody wants to talk about groundwater pumping and stuff. Sigma is not about pumping, it's about consumption. So what your crop is using. So like, that's why in our basin in Kern, we're looking at it from more of a consumptive use. And we've done Land IQ, and we've also done OpenET, but OpenET doesn't really give a good sense of it. There's a lot of issues with it, but Land IQ is pretty much, it nails it down pretty well, but it's basically based on consumptive use, not your pumping. So if you're gonna go based off numbers, just pumping and not your consumptive use, there could be a challenge on that, because the crop's not using everything you're pumping, right? So you could be double charged, and because if it goes back into the soil or it goes back into the aquifer, because it goes back down, you could be double charged, and they can't double charge you water. So there's a lot of issues still with that, with actually charging you based on pumping. So that's my last comment.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Prop 218 will pay fees to a local agency. A lot of GSAs have passed those already. And then, yeah, you'll be charged again to the State Water Resources Control Board. That's correct. Well, the Kings County Water District held 3 seats on that board, and their action yesterday removed the water district from the GSA. So the individuals that served on the Mid-Kings River are no longer qualified to serve on that board, because they are representatives of the water district, and the water district's no longer part of it. So 60 days from yesterday, there's 2 open seats on that board, the way the JPA is written. One's the City of Hanford, and the other is a Grower Advisory Committee member. That seat has never been filled because a Grower Advisory Committee was never created. And that's the question for the county and the city. Are they going to renegotiate that GSA in some way where they appoint 5, 7, 9 members to the board, and then get that agency functioning again as a standalone agency? Or are they going to do something else?
So we need to move forward, we're going backwards.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, we're kind of going back to the beginning, at least in the Mid-Kings River GSA. That'll be up to the new board of directors, the new agency of the Mid-Kings River GSA. They'll have to negotiate terms for repayment and proving those expenses. But they'll be really probably the only agency with the authority to do that. I don't know about grant funding to form it. They have applied for grants to do some studies and things like that, but I don't know about for formation. It's really about seeing if you get that letter and then just calling, and I think the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If you haven't heard from the state board and are wondering about communicating with them, it's probably going to take a lot of effort on your part to find the right person. Sign up for Farm Bureau's electronic newsletter. As we learn things, we're sharing them as soon as we can. We do have a gears notice that will get sent out soon, but we're here to help you guys stay informed. While Bree's walking around, we mentioned fundraising earlier. We have some flyers in the back of the room. Take this home with you. Consider contributing to the legal efforts to battle Sigma in the Tulare Lake Subbasin. We need you guys. We're doing this for you, but we need you to contribute. So we've got a booth set up at the back of the room there. Tiffany will be happy to help you out. And if you got your checkbooks today, you can leave one with us.
Dusty, I had one more question. With the fees and the 400,000 that you think, was that based off of Valerie and her groups, what they were thinking, or was that just what you guys came up with?
That's with input from our attorney and from past experience with similar situations.
Okay.
Questions?
Yeah. Who else?
Well, don't get shy now that I have a microphone.
Yeah. We're just getting heated up. This is starting to
Yeah.
become fun. Okay. We're going to shut this off. If everybody's done, feel free to hang out. There's coffee and water. I'm sure some snacks in the back of the room. We can talk about this more informally if you guys would like. Thank you all for being here. Tiffany's trying to tell me something. Oh, check out our sponsors in the back of the room. Check out our trade show. NRCS is here and has some information about some programs that might help. The Excelsior Kings River RCD's got some program information that might help you out. And we appreciate everybody being here today. Thank you.